Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis, and it's Talking Comics. We're going to talk some comics. These are comics for the week of December 18th, 2024, I believe. I've missed a few weeks. The chaos of the holidays and my life tends to make it that way. I actually attempted to make a video last week and did the entire thing and then found out that the sound didn't work. So that was awesome. Hopefully the sound's working this time. So I got like 16 books, I think, to talk about. Some of them will possibly be unpleasant to talk about. We'll see. In no particular order, we'll start right off with unpleasant. The Standstill. This is issue number 5 of 8. Lee Louridge written. Rigel is on art. So the art starts out okay-ish. The first 11 pages. There is an inker on the book. John Betty does some inking, so it looks a little closer to what Andrew Robinson's art was on the book. Of course, if you've been following me talking about this book in past videos about how it's this, everything's a 2-page spread. It's really big. They make some of these visual choices that I question why. That sometimes they do some letterbox, and I just don't get what's the purpose of some of that. It doesn't feel like it's capping anything. I just don't understand the visual process for that. But the art looked good. Despite those things, it wasn't like it didn't tell a story. I just didn't understand the premise of that with Andrew Robinson doing it. Well, last issue, halfway through, the artist changed. It's not a temporary thing. This is a permanent change. The cover is still done by the original artist, but the rest of the book is done by this other artist. And so, we get this for, this is the inked pages, and then we get back here into the self-inked pages. And I just visually do not enjoy it. I still have the questions I have, and then on top of that, it just does not look as good as what like the cover and stuff does. So I probably will not be talking about any more issues. Chances are, I'm not ordering any more issues. Normally, something that's 5 to 8 issues, I'll write it out. I'm just not enjoying it, and it's time to be done. Even not enjoying it, we'll chalk it up to just that and move on, because it was kind of a bummer. I don't care. I don't care how it ends or what's going on or what the premise is at this point. We've got kind of dueling time-stopping things. The first 11 pages of this are sometime in the future, sometime when these two guys clash in a way. You do find out in this issue that they know each other and some other things along those lines. It just, like I said, didn't enjoy it. So next up, we're going to talk Plastic Man No More. This is book 4. This is the final of the series. There's some touching moments in this. Some, Dad, I'm a complete mess, trying to fix things up, and son recognizing that. But it was kind of a and let down also. Not that it was bad. It just was middle of the road, kind of a thing. I wanted something else or more or something. The challenge always is with me with superhero comics in my old age is, I don't want everything to be the same. Everything has to be locked in and it can't change. I mean, I do enjoy reading superhero comics where things feel classic. That's great. But I'm also wanting something different a lot of times too. And if you kind of hit the middle of the road thing, it's like, okay, it's not terrible, but it's just a superhero comic and it doesn't get me excited. And I was excited for the way this started out. and whatnot. There is an ending in this that leads, makes it implied that there could be something else. Don't know if I would get that. I mean, the best part of the book for me is the Justice League parts and just how clueless they all are. The Justice League themselves when viewing. When viewing Plastic Man and how much, I mean, he's responsible for his own actions and whatnot, but what drives people or makes people feel the way they do lots of times is the stuff around them, and the Justice League is not a good influence on Plaz at all. So that aspect of it was the most interesting part for me in the book. It was a decent read, but not excited by the ending for what it was. Oh, I put all the bummer books at the top, I guess, or something. Mother effing Monsters, issue 1. This is part of that Horizon experience where it's stories written from a different perspective, a minority perspective we don't get to see a whole lot of in our corporate entertainment. So this one is basically horror, told from the black perspective. Holdham was writing it, Harris doing the art. The story was fine. It didn't. Nothing about it made me feel like per se that I was reading something told from necessarily a different perspective. And some of them, do that and whatnot. And there are clearly cultural moments in the book, that are relative to that. Wasn't super excited by the artwork in it. It's just not my jam. And so it is what it is as far as that. I was not real excited by. To me, it's just a level of cartoon that doesn't work for me personally, and never has. Doesn't matter the subject or whatever. But it's a giant horror fest. But it's one issue. It ends on a to be continued thing, like all of these do. Whether or not that's something that's ever going to happen, I don't know. If this were to be continued, it's not something that I would pick up. It just didn't really do anything for me. It was extremely straightforward on the horror, and I want something wild, I guess, when it comes to the horror books. Yeah, that, like I said, largely for me, it's the art that takes me out of the book, because it's just not my style. It's not a style that I like, that I enjoy reading. It visually told the story it needed to be told, just didn't do anything for me. Let's get into some books I do like. Wonder Woman, issue number 16. This brilliant issue with Detective Chimp in it, and in this issue, Detective Chimp is straight up Columbo. If you like that kind of, how Columbo solved things, the rambling of stuff, the kind of poking his nose places, and acting apologetic and inconvenient, while exposing people. A complete riot as far as that goes. Wonderful bookends of the stuff with Baby Trinity there on Themyscira, meeting Grandma, and all of that part of it, all rich. Interesting narrative by the Sovereign himself, kind of showing his downfalls and whatnot, what was expected, what actually happened. Really curious to see what happens next. The issue was beautifully drawn, not by our normal artist, but it was Bruno Redondo did the pencils, and Khaled Felipe was the inker on it, and Lucas was colors, but it still looked really good. As far as visually goes and whatnot, it felt enough like the regular run of the book that you almost don't notice the change in artists. I will bet when my other half reads the book that they will not recognize that there was an art change in it. The backup story's fun. It's a Jimmy Olsen exposure of the Sovereign in the way Jimmy Olsen does his TikTok type videos kind of thing, and that's jumping on the thoughts and ideas, I think, from the Matt Fraction, Steve Lieberman, or Lieber, Jimmy Olsen book that came out a year or two ago, and that's how the Daily Planet really makes their money and whatnot. But it ties into the main story perfectly, because the end of this issue has Clark Kent there at the Sovereign's house going, I'd like to ask you some investigative questions, since how we've now heard that you're the king of America. So really interesting, this takedown. Where it's going to go, I don't know. I'm enjoying this story. When I finished this, I started thinking back to the beginning of the book, the beginning of this run of Wonder Woman, where it was attack on, the Amazons attacked somebody, or an Amazon did. She goes into hiding, and then there's all this anti-Amazon stuff and whatnot, and the whole kind of play on anti-immigrant, anti-women, a lot of that stuff. Are we going to go back and address that as a whole, as a nation? Is this going to be the clear up with being able to point that there was this sovereign guy was manipulating everything, and that's what started this whole problem, and that's going to level it out when this kind of ends with where America sets with all of that? It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if that's the case or not. But I'm enjoying the ride. I'm just curious as to, I have no idea where the end is at for it. And maybe I shouldn't, I'm not worried about it, but I tend to think about those kind of things. This is all the stuff that's happened in the past moving up to this. You can kind of see the chinks, the falls and the bobbles of our main villain is starting to go down. So where does that, where's that going to leave those aspects that bothered me about the book to begin with? Not like I didn't like it, but just, wow, you're dealing with some heavy subjects, and I don't know how you're going to pull this off and not just kind of brush it away and feel unsatisfied as a reader if you're going to tackle a subject and then you put out enough issues, you hope we forget about it and not address it again. That will frustrate me. Don't know that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I'm curious to see what that all plays out with whatnot. But great book, Detective Chimp, writing him as Columbo was pretty brilliant. It was a lot of fun. He was a really fun character. I love the character anyway. Detective Chimp could show up everywhere as far as I'm concerned. He's great stuff. Next up, we have The Moon is Following Us, issue number 4. So we get more of the real world and our dream world here. The costs get much, much higher in this issue for the parents, as it should be. Mom continues to be all in. Dad is questioning the costs of what they're going through. There's some trying to understand how one of the main villains of this that's snatching up the daughter is our mom's mother, who died very recently within the year, and how is that playing with the dream and whatnot. They've been, with their best weapons, have been struggling. They almost had the daughter and then lost the daughter. They found a place that they can go to kind of go into the dreaming world even heavier, pay a bigger toll to the pig-faced arms dealer, and hopefully fight the bigger battle. Kind of a deal out of it. Why not? The art between Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rosmos is always brilliant. Mike Spencer Colors are really vibrant and whatnot. Just makes for a really cool visual book. If you dig Riley Rosmo at all, of course, this is Johnson art here. But I was trying to find the pig face. So I think they call him the pig face arms dealer, even though he looks bat-like. Maybe I'm making that up in my own head. Guess it's not a great picture of him, but I absolutely love that dude. He is. Oh, there's a picture of him. You get this. He opens up his bat wings, and he's inside his bat wings. It's like the guy in the alley selling watches. He opens up his coat and has watches hanging from the inside of his coat. Yeah, it's cool. Super excited to see what plays out. It's been fun. I'm still enjoying it. Get a real kick out of it. Some great creators, just really romping through stuff, and I enjoy that quite a bit. Speaking of things that I'm enjoying, issue 3 of Batman and Robin, year 1, by, of course, Chris Samney. Art is brilliant as always. The story is growing more and more on me. I wasn't super excited about issue 1, but I'm really enjoying it now. This kind of dive into what's going on in Gotham. Batman's, gets locked in and obsessed with whatever that is that's happening, and and there's some great conversation between Pennyworth and Bruce over Dick and kind of where he's at, and the fact that the kid needs more structure, that the two of them are not the same. Bruce is like thinking that the two of them were the same, having the same experience, both losing their parents. He was quite fine with having room and space. He spent his time improving himself and becoming, the Batman, basically. And that is not what Dick Grayson is doing. I feel like he's a little more along the lines of a normal child. Pennyworth does kind of mention in here that he's not sure what normal teenage is like, but that Bruce was basically born as a 25-year-old, so you can't take your own experience to be that of this. But still, really, like I said, really enjoy it. The art continues to be brilliant in here. There's some great moments and stuff and whatnot. I really do feel like this is a Sammy-driven book. That's why it's script by Wade, and probably why I enjoy it more than some of the other Wade-driven stuff, because it's visually based here, more so on the story, and it's cool. It's just cool. Wade's just there to help put good words in people's mouths, moving the stuff forward. But yeah, really, really fun book. Really enjoying it. Even more so than what I thought I was going to. Next up, a lot of superhero books this week. Next up, we have, and partially because I've picked up a ton of new superhero books as DC starts putting out some of this new stuff I'm interested in. But anyway, The Question, All Along the Watchtower, issue number 2. I want to like this a lot more than what I do. I don't have per se an issue with the fact that The Question is basically the sheriff of the Watchtower. There's some stuff going on. There's some conflict with Batwoman in this, and she has some sort of relationship with Batwoman. I don't know if they're really going clear back to where the two of them were dating, and so that's what their relationship is based on, or the relationship is based on being friends. They're both queer, all those aspects. I don't know. And Renee's trying to pick up the pieces of her life because her life has been completely destroyed. She doesn't really have much of friends, so she considers Batman a friend. She kind of gets put in a position where she has to question Batwoman's motives and whatnot, and there's some conflict there. I like the idea of that. I don't know that it was executed incredibly well here. It felt very simplistic and whatnot, and so that made it the comic feel like it was average. Not a bad comic, visually works. It, story-wise it works. Just not anything I'm excited about, and I should be excited about these characters because I love these characters. I love Renee the Question, love uh, Kate Kane, Batwoman, dig the challenges of the unknown, all those aspects and whatnot. And it was just kind of middle of the road for me. Can't remember how many issues. I will write out along, but wasn't super excited by it. It was fine. Another comic, issue number 1 of the Challenges of the Known. Excited this. Always liked the idea of the Challenges of the Known. I have to admit, I haven't read a ton of stuff with them. They're just one of those teams that shows up in really old books with really cool covers. Is largely what I've gotten to see of them and whatnot. Like the idea. So the premise basically is here. There's stuff going on. This whole Darkseid's dead, but what happened? And weird anomalies happening everywhere. And of course, that's perfect for the Challenges of the Known. Largely, they've been tied to the Watchtower. But they're going to go off and check out these other anomalies, and they basically each group is going to a different anomaly. One staying on the space station to deal with the anomalies there, and when they're going to check out these anomalies, they are going along with a Justice League member tied to them. As they go to that, the first one is Superman, and they have a reason for their suits being purple and whatnot, and we get some kind of story. The person who's running the whole thing is Mr. Terrific. They go down, check out this anomaly. The Challenger of the Unknown has a weird experience, doesn't really want to tell people. The Challengers also are suspicious that Mr. Terrific isn't telling them everything. So, of course, you know how all kinds of investigations like this into serious and unknown stuff goes. If everybody's holding some of the cards back and not showing them all, of course, as a team, there's suspicion and nothing functions right. And that's kind of what's going on in here. This is another book that was okay. Wasn't super excited about it. It didn't blow me away. I'm not like chomping at the bit for the next issue, but it was fun. And I am actually looking forward to curious to see where we go and whatnot with it and whatnot, and see what some of these team ups are like and stuff. But yeah. The Power Fantasy. This is issue number 5. This is the end of the first arc. We get to learn a ton about Magnus here. He knows how to tap into magic on a incredible scale. We get kind of the 1970s with him for a good chunk of this, plus what's going on in the current times and what is at stake. He feels more like a player than some of the other characters do. The Heavy's just trying to exist, it seems to me, like do his own stuff and not be bothered by anybody. He's the gravitational guy. Of course, we have our uber telepath who clearly is messing with things all the way along. But I don't know, there's something about him that doesn't seem like he's the same, because how subtle he is about some of the stuff. He doesn't seem like the same kind of player that Magnus is. He has basically a cult in the 70s that he acknowledges as a cult, and it's set up in a certain way to kind of keep everything in check. Somewhere along the way in the 90s that goes bad, or 80s, 90s. The entire European continent is gone. It's been obliterated by some uber magic explosion and whatnot. And by the end of this, he is making a play. Has decided he can't just sit around. He needs to make some sort of a play politically, and that's going to be really curious to see how that works and whatnot. There's a lot of questions I have. This issue gave me a lot of questions around how he operates, why some of these I'm continuing to wonder why some of these people let each other operate. I mean, I get the whole idea that it's just like a superpower companies, countries, under the theory of, if like the United States has so much nuclear power and Russia has so much nuclear power, that kind of was a stalemate, because if one person starts shooting missiles off, everybody blows everybody up, and it's not worth mutual deterrent. I don't know that I understand completely the mutual deterrent here. I don't what the chain of events are involved with this. I believe Magnus's helmet protects him from getting his brains fried by our telepath. But still, just curious as to how some of that works. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of the book. Really like it. It's just a really rich book. Gives you lots and lots to think about as you're reading it. And so that makes me very excited for Kieran Gillian, Casper Wingard work. Just cool stuff. So I think we've got a couple months now of a break. Like I said, first trade's coming out. Get that if you're at all curious and haven't picked up the singles. It's good stuff. Another issue number 1, The New Gods. This is written by Ram V and Evan Cagle and George Fenores on art. And I always really like The New Gods. Always curious with them how they're going to be portrayed, what's going on. There's everybody's different version. This is a pretty gorgeous book. I feel like it's an interesting premise. Of course, in the DC universe, Darkseid is gone, and there's a balance, and that balance has been thrown. We start out the issue with our cosmic, stuff. Kind of setting this whole potential. If you can see all of knowledge, what does that mean? And then it goes. Then we start jumping into our story. Like I said, this whole balance thing, and what is the All Father going to do now that he doesn't have his balance? There's his good. There is no dark side, and how that's gonna play out and whatnot. And of course, Orion's the dude to send down to Earth to deal with some tasks, and he's confronted with a pretty serious task. And so when he goes down to Earth, he of course visits Scott Free, Miracle Man, and discusses his problem, discusses what the Allfather wants him to do. And what the Allfather wants him to do is pretty sinister, and he wants Scott to stop him, because Scott's the escape person to make the escape. And Scott's like, I don't have time for this. I am a father. I have a brand new baby. Barda is busy with not only being a mom, but she's also in the Birds of Prey, and we just don't have time for this kind of thing. And are you crazy? Hear yourself what you're saying. You're not a hero here. This task that you want done is a villain's task. And Orion's like, yeah, I've never disobeyed Allfather's orders. That's why he sent me to do this. But I need you to make sure I'm not successful at it. So I'd be curious to see how all plays together. It was a really cool first issue, and I'm excited to dig into it and see what it is. I'm going to talk about another end of comics. This is John Constantine Hellblazer, Dead in America, issue 11. This is the finale, and it's a beautiful finale. It's a great ending. It has the classic John plays the long con, and the end of it, the ending is brilliant and catches me by surprise. It is so cool. I really enjoyed the very ending of this. John escapes a lot, but he doesn't always escape everything. And that's a cool aspect too. There are costs to stuff. John really is willing to pay the price for a lot of this stuff. I mean, I know a lot of the stories imply that he doesn't, but he carries a lot of that also along the way. Is there collateral damage in this thing along the way? Sure there is. I wonder what's happening with some people. We get answers to where some people go to and not others, which is fine. I really hope there's more. I hope that this thing sells well enough in trade or whatever, that people are excited about it, and we get to see Simon Spurrier and Aaron Campbell and Jody Blair, the creators on this book, come back and do more, whatever Hellblazer stories they want to tell. I'm sure Simon has more stories. Let's see them, because it's just a brilliant team of a comic and of a story and whatnot. All of their stuff, clear back from the beginning when it was ongoing, and then kind of got cut short, and they wanted to tell this story, so then they got to tell a story. We don't need the Sandman trappings anymore. Just label it a Vertigo book instead of a black label book, and get us that that smart ongoing back again. And you all need to pick that Iron Book up as it's coming out, so we can get more of it. But just excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. The conversations that are had in here is just really, really good. Like I said, the ending had me chuckling at the end. I really dug the ending of it. It was good stuff. It was good stuff. Oh, so Null Hunter, the Olympus Saga, the Walsh written and Vargas and Carey art. The art's cool. I still think the story is missing chunks. We jump from place to place, and I know it's a retelling of the Hercules tales and whatnot. And I'm excited by the idea that there's just gaps to get us from place to place, and some of the roles some of the characters play in this. I mean, it's like they try to hit on some interesting or emotional things, but at the same time, there's just in the gutters, there's stuff that happens that doesn't feel cohesive to me, and so I'm always kind of pulled out of it by those aspects of it. I'm always, while I'm reading, going, wait, I mean, okay, so we went from there to there. I mean, cool, we can just do that. I mean, that's what happens. That's how comics work, right? Stuff happens between the gutters. I don't need to see all that stuff in between, but I feel like there needs to be some more of a logical step in between some of those gaps than what there was. I should have wrote it down so I could just open up the page and point out and go, this is what I'm talking about. Did not do that. But I'm going to write it out. There's enough of it I enjoy, because I like the cyberpunkness of it. I like the art of it. So I'll keep riding along, for the end of the tale. But yeah, so it was kind of hit and miss in parts of it, I guess, for me. The Sacrificers. This is issue number 13. Rick Remender, Andre Lima Rahu does the art on this issue. Also, it is a Pigeon centric issue as he battles the machine. We have some conversations about are you really fighting for the people, or is this or is this not? Is this an individual, self-righteous, power grab? Somebody has to pull the levers, but why can't you just have anybody pull the levers to make the machine work and the cogs go? Some cool conversation around that. I'm curious to see how it plays out going forwards. It seems like potentially Pigeon has the agreement of one of the gods he was planning on killing, that they're going to go and convince all the other gods to go and depower themselves, pull the essences out of them, and give it back to the world, so the world can live its own lives as opposed to basically being under the thumb of this gods that aren't really truly doing anything for for them, and the sacrifices that are being made for the gods aren't willing sacrifices, aren't knowingly knowing what is happening to these people and whatnot. So, still really liking the book. Characters are really interesting. I'm more looking forward to the next story, because the next story goes back into the stuff with the princess, and so I'm really excited about that aspect of it more. So. Jenny Sparks. This is issue number 5. I really enjoyed this issue. We get some backstory of how Superman and Batman basically recruit Jenny Sparks and what her job is. Basically, amongst the Justice League, she's there to kill any of them if any of them get out of hand. Is basically kind of what she agrees to, which is interesting. It's set in 2016, that aspect of it, when she gets hired up for that. Interesting time in United States politics, to say the least. And then we get the current story. She has rescued the doctor from the hostage situation in the bar, the psychologist. She has this long conversation with him. She's trying to get, hey, help me get in Captain Adam's head to figure out how we're going to shut this guy down. because we're not going to be able to give him the stuff that he's asking for. We can give him the ham sandwich, but the whole godhood thing is kind of, out the door, and we got to figure out what's going on and whatever. And look, I know you're basically asking everything to kind of go back the way it was, which could mean your death because this guy has suddenly been cured of cancer and whatnot. We kind of get towards the end, we get this great part of his life and what this whole thing means to him, which I thought was really cool, really interesting stuff. So I look forward to what's next with this book. Brilliant art by Jeff Spokes, and I find the story really curious as to what's going to happen and how they're going to fix what's going on. Seems like Captain Adam basically seems like he can snap his fingers and make people exist or not exist or recorporalize people or whatever it needs to happen. So interesting stuff. And then finally this week, we have Nightwing, issue number 121, Night of the Teddies. We get this whole conflict, with the Teddies gang. Nightwing thinks he's kind of got an answer, goes in, butts heads, then finds out that's not exactly accurate, makes some amends as best he can with the aspect. And he also goes and meets the people who are making the super weapons for the cops. Seems like most of these super weapons are based on old schematics of old villains from like his and Gotham's past. And like maybe possibly there's a hint that these people know or have dealt with Nightwing before. Interesting story. I'm enjoying the story of it. By and large, enjoying the writing from Dan Waters. I'm really not enjoying Dexter Soy work. I'm not enjoying the visuals of it. Struggling with that part of it. I'm probably on for this arc and then probably will be getting off of Nightwing. I'm not like a huge Nightwing fan. Yeah, I enjoy him as a character. I enjoy the secondary characters probably more. Because Babs is in this a lot. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'm gonna read along. But like I said, just not really digging the art on it for what it is. Like I said, I'll finish out this arc because I want to finish out this story, and then we'll see, if we continue with the same creators or something else changes or whatever. I've always got some room to get rid of a few books because there's always more books coming out that I think I want. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching my, even though it's almost 40 minutes, truncated, quick talk about the books I've read. Hopefully we'll get into January. The holidays will calm down and go back to some level of normality. Shipping is still wonky right now as far as when I'm getting my books. So not sure when we'll ever see another new comic book. Because when I get them on Fridays or whatever, I can talk about them on the weekend. Otherwise, it makes it hard during the week to do a video. Anyway, that's just me rambling now. Thanks for watching if you did. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.